Have you ever stopped to think about how much history can be packed into just a few words? Well, today we're going to deconstruct a huge story, one about power, control, and ideology, by digging into just a handful of source notes on Augusto Pinochet's Chile.
It's honestly incredible how a few key phrases can sketch out an entire era. We're going to see how just a small collection of words builds a really powerful and chilling narrative. So our whole goal here is to unpack these notes piece by piece to reveal the story hidden right there inside the language.
Okay, so here it is. This is our raw material. 5 key points: a name, an action, 2 methods of control, and a quote. Right now, they just look like fragments, right? But trust me, together they tell a full story. Let's start with the name at the very center of it all.
So every good story needs a main character, and our source notes give us one right away. This is the anchor point for everything else that follows.
Every other note we have basically radiates out from him and the nation he would come to rule. No matter how you view him, he is the fixed point that all these other actions revolve around. All right, so we have the person, but the source immediately tells us how he got into power. And this is, without a doubt, the foundational event of the entire narrative. Now, this isn't just any old transfer of power. That phrase, military coup, is incredibly specific. It signals a sudden, violent break from the way things were done, and it's absolutely crucial for understanding the nature of the regime that followed. Yeah, just look at the words packed into that definition: sudden, violent, illegal. They carry so much weight. This single phrase tells us everything we need to know about how this government started. It wasn't elected, it took control by force. Simple as that. Okay, so power was seized by force. The next logical question has to be, how was that power maintained? Well, our source notes give us 2 very specific and pretty brutal methods of control. And these aren't just vague descriptions, They are specific tools of state power. The source is very deliberate in choosing 2 stark, visceral terms to really define the character of this government. Let's just put these 2 side by side for a second. Disappearances. That's a specific tactic. A terrifying one. It's about literally erasing people to create this constant state of uncertainty and fear. But then you have torture regime, and that describes the whole system. It tells us that torture wasn't just some isolated incident. It was a core instrument of how the state operated. So our notes are showing us both the weapon and the philosophy behind it. But why? Why go to these lengths? Our final source note actually gives us the regime's own justification in its own words. And there it is, the rationale laid bare. It's a really powerful statement that instantly reframes any kind of political disagreement as an act of war. And that one word, war, was chosen very, very deliberately. It changes everything. Because this is the key question, right? This is what the quote forces us to ask. When a government declares war on an idea, it fundamentally rewrites all the rules. Political opponents are no longer just citizens with different views, they become enemies of the state. And that creates a justification for pretty much any action, no matter how extreme, all in the name of national security. So we've taken apart each individual clue from our source. Now, let's put them back together and see the complete picture they paint. By putting these fragments back in order, what we see is that they aren't just random data points at all. They actually tell a very coherent cause and effect story. And here's the flow of that story. It starts with a figure, Pinochet. He takes power through a specific action, a military coup. He keeps that power using 2 distinct methods: disappearances and torture. And he justifies all of it with a clear rationale: waging a war on an ideology. See? It's a complete narrative arc, built from just a handful of incredibly powerful terms. This entire analysis we just did was built from just 5 lines of text. It's a pretty stark reminder of how powerful and loaded language can be. Phrases like military coup or torture regime aren't just labels, they are condensed histories, each one holding a universe of meaning. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. How often do the specific words chosen to describe history end up shaping our entire understanding of it?